There's a difference between someone who's attracted to you and someone who's committed to your evolution. Attraction can be instant, easy, even shallow, but investment takes time. When a woman truly loves you, she starts to think beyond who you are right now and sees who you're becoming. She's not trying to fix you or mold you into someone else. She's simply aligned with the person you want to be. And instead of competing with your goals, she encourages them. She listens when you talk about your dreams, not just with polite interest, but with curiosity. She asks questions that make you reflect deeper than you normally would. You'll notice that she doesn't flatter your ego. She challenges your comfort zone. When you're playing small, she doesn't just nod and let it slide. She calls it out gently but firmly. She sees when you're self-sabotaging and brings you back to your standards. She doesn't settle for surface-level effort when she knows you're capable of more. And it's not because she wants something from you, but because she wants more for you. You feel seen by her, but also slightly stretched. It's that rare mix of being loved as you are while still being pushed to grow. Sometimes it's how she frames your failures. She doesn't see them as a reflection of your worth. She sees them as feedback. When you come to her feeling defeated, she doesn't drown with you. She steadies the boat. She's the voice reminding you this moment doesn't define you. That one misstep doesn't mean the journey's over. And she doesn't just offer blind reassurance. She gives honest perspective. She'll sit with you through the low moments, but she won't let you live there. That's investment. That's someone who's in this for the long game. You may find her sending you articles, books, podcasts, not to be a know-it-all, but because she saw something and thought, this might help him. It's never pushy, never demanding, always an invitation. She cares about what's shaping your mindset and what's feeding your spirit. She doesn't just want to be part of your free time. She wants to be part of your foundation, the part of you that grows when no one else is watching. When she introduces you to people, it's often people who inspire you, not just entertain you. That's her way of saying, I want you in the room with people who match your ambition. You'll also see it in how she supports your discipline. When you say you want to commit to something, she respects it, even if it means less time with you. She doesn't tempt you away from your priorities just to feel important. She makes space for the routines, the late nights, the early mornings, because she knows this is part of what makes you you. She respects your purpose. She doesn't confuse love with constant access. In fact, her support becomes fuel for your consistency. And when you start evolving, when you finally hit a milestone you've worked hard for, she's proud of you, not insecure. She doesn't shrink in your light. She stands beside you. She celebrates your wins without needing to center herself in them. She's not intimidated by your success. She's invested in it because she's not loving you for who you were when she met you. She's loving the ever-changing, constantly growing version of you. And that version might outgrow people, but not her, because she's growing too. What makes it powerful is that her investment doesn't feel transactional. She doesn't dangle her support like a reward for good behavior. She's not asking, what's in it for me? She's asking, who are we becoming together? And in that, she holds you accountable to your higher self. She sees your potential, not in a romanticized way, but in a way grounded in who you already are. She reminds you of it when you forget. And when you fall off track, she helps you realign without shame or guilt. This kind of love feels different. It doesn't coddle your excuses, but it nurtures your ambition. It's the kind of energy that stays quiet when you're working, but cheers loud when you succeed. It doesn't rush your process. It respects your pace. She's not trying to lead for you or fix everything. She just believes in you deeply. And that belief doesn't depend on your latest achievement. It's consistent, grounded, and calm. Because for her, love isn't about holding you still. It's about helping you move forward. She doesn't wait for the obvious signs. She sees it before you speak. You come in the door and say everything's fine, but she knows something's off. You smile, but it doesn't reach your eyes. Your laugh is half a beat slower. You're present, but something in your energy feels distant. She doesn't accuse, she doesn't press, she simply notices. There's a level of emotional intelligence in her that doesn't need translation. You don't have to explain why you're quiet. She senses it in your rhythm, the way your responses get shorter, the way you start to retreat. She pays attention to the small things that others overlook. The pause before you speak, the delay before you answer, the way you avoid certain topics or speak in more general terms than usual. She reads your silences better than most people read your words, and it's not a game of guessing, it's intuition built on presence. She's with you when she's with you, not distracted, not half scrolling while you talk. She catches the little sighs you didn't know you let out, the way your posture shifts ever so slightly when something's weighing on you. Her emotional radar is sensitive, not invasive. What makes this special is how she responds. She doesn't rush in with solutions. She doesn't overwhelm you with questions. She simply holds space. She might place a hand on your back. She might say, "Hey, what's going on?" softly, without pressure. Or she might say nothing at all and just stay close until you're ready. Her energy says, "I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere." When someone loves you, they listen to the unspoken, and she does that with care, not control. She's not trying to pull information out of you to satisfy her own anxiety. She's tuning in because your inner world matters to her. Even if you're not ready to open up, she respects that. But she still pays attention. It's the kind of attention that feels like safety, not surveillance. It says, "I notice because I care." Over time, this becomes one of the things you trust most about her. She doesn't need a crisis to show up for you. She doesn't wait until things fall apart to offer support. She's emotionally present on the regular days, the boring days, the days when even you haven't fully figured out what you're feeling yet. And somehow she's already there, making it easier to access. Just her presence makes it feel lighter. It's not that she's perfect or always right, but she wants to understand. Even when you're closed off, even when you say you're just tired, she stays open. She doesn't punish you for being distant. She stays steady while you find your way back. That steadiness creates a kind of emotional safety most people don't know how to give. It's not dramatic. It's not loud, but it's deeply, deeply felt. What's powerful is that she doesn't need you to be on all the time. She loves you in your silence, in your mood swings, in your off days. You don't have to perform to be accepted. You don't have to explain everything to feel supported. She notices, not to fix you, but to be there with you. And in a world where most people wait for you to spell it out, she's already halfway there. It's easy to love someone when they're winning, when they're charming, full of energy, doing well, and making life feel exciting. That version of you, the confident, playful, attractive one, draws people in. But love isn't proven in those high moments. Love shows up when the lights dim, when you're not the best version of yourself, when you're tired, grumpy, uncertain, and a little hard to be around. She doesn't withdraw when that version of you shows up. She doesn't act like your emotions are an inconvenience. She doesn't take your low mood personally or punish you with coldness. She stays grounded. She recognizes that the moment you're in is not the full picture of who you are. She doesn't confuse a bad day with a bad person. She knows how to hold space without making it about her. You don't need to be impressive for her to stay connected. You don't need to be entertaining to be worth her time. You don't need to be inspiring to be loved by her. Even when you're emotionally drained, she's still there. Not hovering, not forcing a reaction, but present. She chooses you even when you can't fully show up for her, because she sees past this temporary version of you. Sometimes that choice looks like patience. Sometimes it looks like backing off just enough to give you space, without letting you feel abandoned. Sometimes it's making you food when you're too exhausted to speak, or putting her phone down just to sit beside you in silence. She knows your silence doesn't mean disconnection. It means you're sorting things out, and she doesn't rush your process. She doesn't judge you for being emotional either, whether you're frustrated, shut down, or overwhelmed. She doesn't label it as weakness. She sees emotion as part of the human experience, not a flaw to fix. You don't have to pretend around her. You don't have to fake being okay. There's no performance, no pressure, just the quiet understanding that she's in it with you, even when it's not pretty. There are moments when you push people away without realizing it, and she doesn't run. She doesn't take offense when you're not as talkative, when you cancel plans, when your tone is short. She doesn't throw it back in your face later. She doesn't turn your low moment into an emotional weapon. Her love has maturity, the kind that separates temporary reactions from lasting character. Even when you don't feel lovable, she chooses to love you. Not out of obligation, not out of pity, but because she understands that love is a choice, not just a feeling. Feelings come and go, energy comes and goes. But when she's with you, she stays with all of you, not just the highlight reel. That includes the stressed out you, the doubtful you, the moody, unfiltered, low energy version of you. And she doesn't keep score. She doesn't say, "I stayed when you were down, now you owe me." Her support doesn't come with conditions or silent contracts. She chooses you without needing constant proof of your worth. Her love isn't about how easy you are to be with. It's about how deeply she's decided you're someone worth staying for. Even on the days you're hardest to reach, she reaches anyway. You don't feel like you owe her after every kind gesture. That's the first sign. Her love isn't transactional. It's not a subtle exchange where every act of care demands a return. When she gives, it's not because she's tallying points. It's not about keeping the emotional scales even. It's about showing up because that's who she is. Her giving is honest. It comes from a place of fullness, not control. She doesn't remind you of the things she's done for you when she's upset. She doesn't use her generosity as leverage in an argument. She doesn't say, "After everything I've done for you," because that's not how her love works. She's not giving to gain power over you. She's giving because it's real, and because her version of love doesn't live on conditions, it breathes through consistency. When she offers her time, her energy, her presence, it feels safe. You never feel like she's keeping a mental logbook. She doesn't change her tone based on whether you said thank you the exact right way. She doesn't measure your worth by how perfectly you reciprocate every gesture. She trusts the flow of love isn't always 50-50 in every moment. Some days it's 70-30, some days it flips, and she gets that. You see it in the small moments. She brings you coffee without expecting a thank you text. She checks in with you during a busy day, not to test your attention, but because she genuinely cares. She listens to your frustrations without rushing to tell hers. She's not giving in order to receive. She's giving because connection matters more to her than credit, because your peace brings her peace. When you fall short, when you forget something or show up less than your best, she doesn't immediately withdraw her effort. She doesn't play games where she holds back to prove a point. She doesn't suddenly stop doing the things she used to do for you just to see if you'll notice. Her giving doesn't disappear the second she feels underappreciated. She communicates, but she doesn't punish. She's not afraid to give more on the days you have less. That's not weakness. That's depth. She understands that relationships are not a running scoreboard. There are no medals handed out for keeping everything perfectly balanced. Her fulfillment doesn't come from being praised. It comes from the quiet joy of supporting someone she loves. She gives because her love isn't performative. It's integrated. What's rare is how she separates giving from expectation. She may want love back, everyone does, but she doesn't tie her entire self-worth to your reaction. If you forget to reciprocate, she doesn't spiral. If you miss a moment, she doesn't hold it over your head. Her giving is mature. It's not about manipulating emotions. It's about showing up with presence, not pressure. You never feel like you're walking on eggshells around her generosity. You never feel like every nice thing she does is secretly a test. She doesn't create invisible contracts. She creates real moments. And those moments aren't just gestures, they're messages. I'm not here to keep score. I'm here to build something. And she knows that in love, the strongest foundation isn't perfect balance. It's trust in each other's intention. There's a kind of love that doesn't just make your heart race, it makes your shoulders drop. When you're with her, it's not about intensity, it's about ease. She's not bringing chaos into your world. She's not addicted to drama or constant emotional highs and lows. She's not pulling you into fights just to feel passion. Instead, she's intentional about creating a calm space between you. She's aware of how her energy affects yours. You don't feel like you're bracing for the next emotional landmine. She doesn't throw emotional grenades into the room and then walk away. She's mindful about how she communicates. She's not perfect, No one is, but she's self-aware enough to pause before lashing out. When conflict happens, she brings it up respectfully, not recklessly. She doesn't confuse being reactive with being real. She wants resolution more than she wants to win. She pays attention to your stress, not to add to it, but to ease it. If she knows you've had a long day, she doesn't ambush you with complaints the second you walk through the door. She reads the room. She knows when to talk, when to listen, and when to simply be. It's not about suppressing her needs. It's about timing and empathy. She values peace not as silence, but as emotional safety. That kind of peace is felt, not forced. She protects the relationship from unnecessary noise. She doesn't involve outsiders in every disagreement. She's not calling 3 friends to report every issue. She respects the privacy of what you two are building. Not every frustration becomes public content. Not every small problem becomes a crisis. Her emotional maturity filters what's worth bringing to the table and what's just a passing moment. That's protection, not of her pride, but of the connection. Even in tough conversations, she doesn't come in hot just to release tension. She approaches things with intention. She speaks from clarity, not just emotion. And when she does get emotional, because everyone does, she owns it. She doesn't blame you for everything she feels. She makes space for both your truths, not just hers. That balance lets the relationship breathe instead of always being on edge. She also protects your peace by managing her own. She doesn't make her healing your full-time job. She takes responsibility for her triggers, her past, her pain. She's doing the work, not perfectly, but consistently, and that work benefits both of you. You don't feel like her emotional punching bag. You feel like her partner, someone she leans on, not leans into when she's overwhelmed. She knows the difference between sharing and dumping. When she opens up, it's to connect, not to transfer pressure. She doesn't let her moods dictate the entire vibe of the day. If she's having a rough time, she communicates, but she's not making you walk on emotional eggshells. She trusts you enough to let you in, but she respects you enough not to make her storms your burden to carry alone. Being with her feels like breathing, not because life is perfect, but because she doesn't make it heavier than it needs to be. You don't dread conversations. You don't fear emotional ambushes. You trust her to bring clarity, not confusion. And over time, you realize the peace she protects isn't just yours. It's both of yours. And that's what makes her presence so rare. There's a big difference between someone who enjoys your company and someone who believes in your calling. It's easy to be with someone when things are light, fun, and comfortable. But when your purpose requires sacrifice, late nights, hard choices, risks, she doesn't flinch. She doesn't just love being around you, she's invested in what you're becoming. She sees your work not as competition, but as part of who you are. She doesn't ask you to shrink it to make her feel more secure. She steps into alignment with it. She's not threatened by your ambition. She doesn't take it personally when you need time to focus, to build, to stretch. She doesn't guilt trip you for being in your zone. In fact, she respects it because she knows your purpose existed long before she entered your life. And she's not trying to replace it. She's trying to walk beside it. You feel encouraged, not distracted. You feel supported, not suffocated. She adds fuel to the fire, not fog. When you talk about your ideas, she listens with interest, not impatience. She doesn't change the subject or minimize what you care about. She might not always understand every detail, but she gets the importance. She hears the heart behind it. She's not just nodding to be polite, she's present. She'll ask follow-up questions. She'll challenge your thinking in a way that sharpens it. She wants your vision to be clearer, not smaller. She celebrates progress even when it's slow. She doesn't pressure you to have all the answers right now. She respects the process. The messy, uncertain, non-linear journey of building something meaningful. She knows that purpose doesn't always pay off instantly, that not every step forward is visible from the outside, but she stays close anyway. She's not obsessed with quick results. She's loyal to long-term growth. And she doesn't just show up when the cameras are on. She supports you behind the scenes, when no one's watching, when you're doubting yourself, when you're tempted to quit. Her encouragement doesn't come with conditions. She doesn't need public credit to validate her role in your journey. She's not just showing love when things look good. She's holding you down when they don't. She believes in the foundation, not just the finish line. Her support isn't blind praise, it's balanced feedback. If she sees you drifting from your values, she'll call it out. If you're playing small, she'll remind you of your standard, not to criticize, but to refocus. She doesn't co-sign your excuses just to keep the peace. She holds you to the level she knows you're capable of. And because it comes from love, you hear it differently. It lands, it sticks, it drives you forward. She never makes you choose between loving her and living your calling. That's key. She doesn't treat your purpose as a rival. She understands that real love expands your life. It doesn't restrict it. And when you succeed, she doesn't feel left behind. She feels proud. Because she never needed to be the center of everything. She just wanted to be part of something real. She doesn't need all the spotlight. She just wants to help you shine. Over time, you realize she's not just supporting your purpose, she's woven into it. Her presence makes you sharper, steadier, more focused, not because she's pushing you, but because she believes in what you're building. You're not chasing goals to impress her. You're becoming the man who can protect and honor the kind of love she brings. Her support isn't just felt. It shapes the way you show up for your life. She doesn't try to mold you into a version of yourself that fits her comfort zone. She respects that you're your own person, not a project, not a mirror, not an extension of her. She doesn't expect you to like everything she likes. She doesn't demand that you adopt all her opinions to keep the peace. She gives space for differences because she understands that love doesn't require sameness. You're not here to be identical. You're here to be honest. That honesty is what makes the connection real. She celebrates the parts of you that existed before the relationship. Your hobbies, your friendships, your routines. She doesn't see them as threats. She sees them as part of your identity. She doesn't ask you to shrink your world just to fit into hers. In fact, she encourages you to keep those things alive. She understands that a strong relationship is built between two whole people, not two halves clinging to each other. She wants you to stay connected to yourself, not disappear inside us. When you need time alone, she doesn't take it personally. She doesn't twist your solitude into a statement about her worth. She gets that needing space doesn't mean you're pulling away, it means you're recharging. She doesn't make you feel guilty for listening to your own internal rhythm. There's no punishment for needing a moment, no emotional coldness when you choose to reflect instead of respond. She holds space for you to be inward without making it a problem. Your goals, even when they're different from hers, matter to her. She doesn't need to be interested in your passion to respect it. If you're excited about something, she's interested because you are. She doesn't roll her eyes when you nerd out over something she doesn't understand. She listens, not for the topic, but for the tone, because your excitement means something to her, and that's enough. That's how respect shows up, in curiosity, not just agreement. She never tries to control who you are. She doesn't weaponize emotional closeness to manipulate you into changing. She doesn't keep